I'd like to take some time and tell you guys a story about a car that I take care of for the legal owner. And I've been doing so for the better part of 20 years on and off. And it's a car that I've known for the better part of 30 years. And because of what we do, it's here for us to store and maintain until further notice. So everybody who's been watching this channel knows that we're big Oldsmobile people. That's kind of one of the things that makes us tick. And in addition to the Mr. Jones W-31, everybody's familiar with my F85 W-31. This is my very first car. Purchased it in 1988. What people might not know, and how would they, is that there's another car that's been really a part of my life for the better part of 30 years. This is a 1968 Cutlass S Ramrod 350. I got a lot of stuff to talk about this car. Let's get right to it, huh? So this car is a coupe. This car is a bucket seat. Obviously, it's a stick shift. No Ramrod 350s were available with an automatic in 68. 69 was the first year for that. Now, there are some differences in 68s and 9s. Most people will think it's just the front end here, the front end treatment. See a 69 looking like this. 68 looks like that. There are actually a lot of differences. 68 last year of the key in the dash. The 68 dash knobs are all different. 68, even with a coupe, you'll have vent windows. The only way to get vent windows after that is if you had a post car. 68, look where the door lock knob, Ohio Nick and I figured this out. See where the lock knob is on a 68, way in the back? 69, look how far forward they are. So 69 and 68 have different doors. 68 and 9 have different fenders in that there's 2 bolt holes for the hood hinges versus 3. Hoods really raise really low on a 68 compared to a 69. See, the hood hinges are different. They are interchangeable. You can use those fenders. So here's what I believe to be a reproduction window sticker. It has been in the car forever and ever. And it says that this car came from Anderson Oldsmobile in Baltimore. And I think we all know of a pretty famous car that also came from Anderson Oldsmobile. This car has all the options that are listed on the window sticker. They're all still here. The actual total price of this car was $4,022.47. About $700 more than the F85 was when it was new. Where are we going to start here? Let's start with talking about some of the differences between a 68 and 69 W car. We've gone over some differences about the cars, what they have in general. But let's talk about what makes a 68 and a 69 different with respect to the Ramrod option. You have a sticker that looks like this on a Ramrod. They didn't call it the W-31 on the car yet until 1969. Number one. Number two, the scoops are different. They're wider on a 68 than they are on a 69. The air cleaner, although it looks the same, the air cleaner base is different on a 68 and 69. The 68 air cleaner base has a D-shaped hole on the driver's side behind the air intake snorkel. That's a 68. 69s, which we have 2 of here, the Mr. Jones car, and of course my car. 69s, that breather pipe is on the passenger side, and that's a round hole. So at first glance, they look the same, but they are different, 68 and 69, making them each 1 year only, because obviously by 70, they went to the W-25 hood for the outside air induction. Also, you'll notice that on a 68, it does not say Ramrod 350 on the air cleaner lid. That is correct right there, to have it just say Rocket 350 on the air cleaner lid. Oddly enough, because the Oldsmobile engineers like to keep everybody on their toes, even though they call it a W-31 in 69, they use the Ramrod 350 nomenclature on the air cleaner lid. Odd little thing that Oldsmobile likes to do there. This car is an authentic Ramrod 350. It's real, guys. And I'm going to go over some of the stuff that has helped me determine that it is real. Some of the paperwork that used to belong with this car is somewhat MIA, and we are really trying diligently to locate that paperwork. But without that paperwork, I can't show you in writing anything more than I can show you on the car. So we'll have to get back when and if we actually get our hands on that paperwork. Let's talk about some things here that make this car, in my mind, pretty obvious that it's the real deal. So now we're going to get into the DNA of things, okay? We're going to get into, we've done really well with the DNA of the W-31s. We did really well with the DNA of the SS396 El Camino. Now we're going to talk about the DNA of this particular Ramrod, okay? We're going to talk about production numbers here quick, okay? The number 742 used to be the universally accepted production number for the Ramrod 350s in 1968. Subsequently, that information has been altered and changed to some extent. While 742 is still a good number, it refers to how many of the Ramrod 350 engines were produced. That does not tell you how many cars. Here's the new updated, and now in the Oldsmobile world, this is the new list of the numbers. New, somewhere around 2018 or so. F85 production in 1968 with the Ramrod 350 is a whopping 38 cars. The Cutlass line includes the coupes and the posts, the Sport Coupe and the Holiday Coupe, 440 of those. And there were allegedly 30 Cutlass Supremes built with the Ramrod 350 option. That gets a total of about 508 cars built. The balance of the engines were intended to be support engines for race teams, warranty replacements, etc. Okay? So we're going to go with the fact that there was just over 500 of these cars built in 1968 and just over, not quite 750 engines total. Basically, December of 1967, December 1st of 67, was the first public release announcement that they're going to come out with this model car, this model engine. December 8th of 67 was actually a bulletin showing that the 391 and 433 gears are really the only available gears for these cars. Remember, you could only get a stick shift. 3-speed or 4-speed, wide and close ratio 4-speeds. You could not get an automatic in 1968. But by January 16th of 68, they now announced that you can get 342s. Okay. Remember, manual only. Now, this car was built 03B on the cal tag, which I'll show you guys in a minute, March the second week. Lansing, Michigan, as we all know, has to be built in Lansing in order to be a W car of any kind. Hurst-Olds, Rally 350s and 70, they were all Lansing-built cars. No W30, 31, or even 32 was ever built in any plant other than Lansing, Michigan. The trim on this cal tag is 940. That's black bucket seats in vinyl. The color codes are 2. R meaning scarlet red. 2 has a black top. The actual layout of a 68 cal tag is a little bit different than a 69. There's the cal tag right there. Again, you're not going to find out from the VIN, and you're not going to find out from the cal tag if this is a real W31 or not. What you will find out is if it's not. So if it says anything other than LAN, you're out of the game. So we know we have a Lansing built car. Number one, that checks the box. All right, we're going to go through the basic stuff now that most everybody knows, that there is no power brakes available on a W-31. Never was. 68, 9, or 70 never had power brakes. That is not the original master cylinder. You know why? Because I changed it. Here is the original master cylinder. Here's the original master cylinder that says CT. If you can make that out. It definitely says CT on it. And look what it had. It had a Hurst line lock solenoid on that master cylinder. And you can even see that in that photograph right there, back in the 80s. You can clearly see that line lock is on that master cylinder. This is some of the paperwork we're really, really trying hard to locate. That looks like, to me, the original keys, key tag, protector plate up there, all in a frame. And I had my hands on that frame years ago. I had that frame with the car, and now, and it's even, this car was even featured in a magazine, and I just literally cannot remember which magazine it was. Not featured in a magazine during my tenure, during the prior owner's tenure, it was in a magazine. Okay, getting back to under the hood, no power brakes, check. The big thing everybody likes to see is the big W-31 balancer. That harmonic balancer is unique to W-31s. For 68, 69, and 70, they are the same balancer. Not a standard L74 balancer. That's a big dollar unit right there. Gotta have that, okay? The VIN is on the block. It's very pitted. I'm gonna see if I can bring you in here to show you that. You are not gonna be able to see that on camera. I promise you, the last 6 of the VIN are on that block pad right there. Very, very pitted. I have to have the light just a certain way to read it, but it is there. Number 5 heads, again, 68, 69, 350s all had number 5 heads. It's the valve size that make it unique to a W-31. Windshield washer bottle, passenger side, because the battery's over here. Windshield washer bottle, passenger side. Windshield washer tube, clamped to the firewall properly. Holes, let me get my light here. Holes cut into the plastic wheel wells for the outside air induction scoops. That is all checking out properly. Speaking of outside air induction scoops, let's go here to the front fenders, and I can show you there are no rubber insulators between the front fender and the front fender bracket. That is correct for a car that has outside air induction scoops. A standard Cutlass would have, like we talked about before, it looks like a rubber flap, like a piece of tire, a rubber insulator between that 2-bolt bracket and the fender itself. Outside air induction cars are without that rubber insulator. So that checks. The water pump pulley should read KA, okay? And this one, if you guys can see that, I'm having a real hard time with the lighting in here today. Here it is. That's the best angle I can show you. KA. Well, that was a painful way to show you that it has a KA pulley. We can see, if I can get you to my car, you can see KA. And on Mr. Jones, this water pump pulley, which is really not good, you can see that also says KA. Okay, so that's consistent with those. So we have 3 harmonic balancers that are good. We have 3 KA water pump pulleys that are good. We have an A body without air conditioning. And yet we have 2 fuel lines. We have 2 fuel lines that have never been replaced. They're not new. 3/8 feed line and a return line. That is consistent with that of a W-31. You would only see 2 fuel lines on a car, a 350 rather, with air conditioning. And that would even be, I believe, a 5/16 fuel line. This is clearly a 3/8 fuel line. and a return. So that checks, okay? Lansing built car, big balancer, no power brakes, CT master, 2 fuel lines, correct scoops, correct front fender brackets, correct washer bottle location, and tube provision. Certainly looking like we have a proper W-31, Ramrod 350. All but no questions, and obviously we have drum brakes in the front. So all those things are very, very good. And this car has been this way since day one. Now let me talk to you about some things that have not been this way since day one. Let's talk about suspension for a minute. The FE2 suspension package consists of a larger front sway bar, rear anti-sway bar, box lower control arms, like what's on my car, like what's on the Mr. Jones car. This car has FE1 suspension, okay? All that means is that it has a front sway bar, different coil springs. It does not originally have an anti-sway bar or box lower control arms. I'm going to show you what's underneath here and show you right here in person what's wrong with the rear end of the car. This car should have the O rear. We're all very familiar with the O rear. We just built one in the Cutlass W-31. You can see that this is not an O rear. It has the cookies on the side of the cover. Okay, it is a 10-bolt cover. That rear end is a nodular rear end out of a 68 Pontiac with 390 gears. You can clearly see that that cover is not an O-type cover. It does not even have 12 bolts. That is not correct for this car. What's also not correct for this car is that rear anti-sway bar. Even though it's got that awesome little tag there. This car was much nicer years and years ago, by the way. This whole black spray bombing under here is not from me. But it'll get, I guess, redone by me. What is also not original to the car is that anti-sway bar, because with FE1 suspension, which is what this car has, you would not have boxed lower control arms with FE1. You would never have an anti-sway bar with non-boxed lower control arms. The bolts that hold the anti-sway bar on only go through the inner wall of the control arm anyway, so that's not even remotely correct. So that rear end and that anti-sway bar do not belong in this car. Let me show you one other thing that doesn't belong in this car. That drive shaft does not belong in this car. That is a 2-piece drive shaft. The inner piece has this vulcanized rubber bushing that goes into the larger diameter front piece. That is for an automatic transmission. It will work. I've actually run a drive shaft like that in my car for a couple of years. A manual transmission car has a 1-piece drive shaft. So that drive shaft is not correct for this car. This Hurst shifter is not correct. While these cars came with Hurst shifters, they simply had an H on the bottom. This short shaft that says Hurst is aftermarket. That is not original. What else is not original is that if you had a full console like this, the shift pattern is on the console. Therefore, the shift knob would just be a regular round ball. This car has the shift pattern on the knob and on the console, so this knob, along with this handle, the entire shifter itself, is not correct for the car. Here's a good look at the unique to 68 dash knobs. Unlike that of a 69, and there's the key location in the dash of a 68. The odometer on this car is now over 100,000 miles, 102,529. There's something else I want to show you here on this car that goes along with the rear end being changed, the shifter being changed. There's evidence here that this was somebody's hot rod because that sticker right there, see if I can get you guys to read it, that says wins. So somebody has put one of those racing stickers under the trunk, had air shocks, different rear. I have not been able to find a VIN on that transmission. I'm going to assume that transmission is not original either. Okay, I popped the air cleaner off for you guys. Don't get so excited. You see a Quadrajet there, right? 7028. Oh, we're getting close. 7028 251. That's the carburetor that I built for Alyssa's convertible years ago. I don't have the original carburetor for this car. There's 3 W-31s on the property, and I don't own a 255 carburetor. We all know in the W-31 game, 7028 would be for a 68, 255 W-31. 7029, 69, 255 W-31. This car's got a Holly. Mr. Jones had and has a Holly, which is in pieces. And this car has only ever had a Quadrajet on it. But quite literally, the Quadrajet that's on the spare parts motor, this Quadrajet is what was on this car when I got it back. Ran like crap. It runs better now, but we still got to do some work to this thing. It doesn't rev like it needs to, or should. That carburetor really changed things. This car has gotten this carburetor. It's got a new coil. I put a new fuel pump in it. Obviously, master cylinder, rear brake lines, rear wheel cylinders. Obviously, oil and filter change. Gonna put some plugs in it. Gonna put a little bit of TLC into this old girl before winter sets in. So when it came back here, it ran terribly. The carburetor was horrible. The fuel pump was bad. Now, all I did is clean this carburetor up, and it runs great on the spare parts motor. I didn't even give it time on this one. So it's got this carburetor that I rebuilt for Alyssa's Cutlass. It had a Protronix igniter system in it with a couple chewed wires, so I put it back to points. I put a new fuel pump in it. Obviously, I talked to you guys. I put the new master cylinder in there. I do have the original one. Rear brake lines along the axle. Rear wheel cylinders got done because I had no brakes. Had no brakes. Ran like crap. I had to work on the shifter because it would get stuck in between gears. And I've just been kind of tinkering with it here and there. And it would be great if we could get this thing out for next season. It would be great. A little bit of things to do beforehand, some logistics, some paperwork stuff has to happen first. Let me go over a couple things on the car that are just maybe not as good as it might look on camera. This damage has always been here since I've had my hands on the car. Where the grill and the radiator support, there's gaps and there's washers there to kind of keep things in line. And I never got into restoring this car. That wasn't my goal. We do have an NOS grill, but this car must have been a rusty car at one point. You can even see where the radiator support has some pretty decent pitting there. This horn relay is not on the fender. It's on the fender well. Something must have happened again before our tenure here. You can see that at this show that horn relay is on the wheel well like it is now. I can't really tell in this photograph the orientation of the grill and the radiator support, but we can clearly see the horn relay is on the wheel well. There's that line lock I spoke about. Oh, I neglected to mention, kind of all over the place here, 68s, low back buckets, no headrests. 69, you have headrests. So there's a difference there in those seats also. I feel like this car's got a story to tell, and we just don't know it yet. The only thing I know is that it was restored probably in the 80s. And it's been in this relative condition since then. It wasn't a magazine. I've lost track of what magazine it was in. We're working really hard to try to find that paperwork. And that paperwork, when I had it in my hands, the original owner's name, the original keys, the protector plate is there. We're working really, really hard to try and track that paperwork down. This was somebody's hot rod. This car was, being a March car, it's possible that it was used as a daily car by the original owner. 342s, kind of a pretty car. Whether it was the original owner or the second owner or the third owner. But obviously, it got a Hearst line lock. It got that Pontiac rear end. Somebody thought it was cool to put a wind sticker under the trunk lid. Air shocks, which this has air shocks too. That shifter, that Hearst shifter is different, short throw shifter. So I'm surprised that nobody's popped up and said, hey, I'm looking for this Ramrod. Maybe the original owner's long since passed, Without that information that exists, I just have to retrieve it. It's tough to figure out, where the car ultimately came from. We know the window sticker says Anderson Oldsmobile. And again, we know that pretty famous Anderson Olds car. So this car has been in and out of my life and in and out of my garage and in and out of my shop for many, many years. I have a pretty sordid kind of history with this car. And please forgive me for not letting you folks see this car sooner. It's a car that's pretty unique and it's pretty special. Let me illustrate some of the history that I have with this car. Okay, so my history with this car, my knowledge of this car starts in the late 80s. Shortly after I buy my 69, I happen upon this car at a relatively local car show. And I'm very, very, very intrigued that here's another W-31, basically, not far from me after having purchased my car. Okay. So I know of the car, I see the car, I take pictures of it, and I take note, and I kind of, inventory that car, so to speak. I stick it in my file, I hang on to pictures of that car, very, very much like the black W30 that I've kind of kept track of all these years. That particular W30 is that particular W30 in the poster. And I kind of kept track of that one. Also, those are the photographs that I took of that car before having bought my car. Little fragmented history lesson there. Conveniently, while working one day, I see this car in a local residential garage. That was probably somewhere in the 1993 era. I'm guessing. I see the car about 89 at a car show. Don't know the guy. Don't exchange phone numbers with him. So about 1989, I see the car for the first time. Then somewhere around 93 locally, I see it. And ultimately in 2003, the car comes my way. And it's with me until 2005. And then I kind of walk away from it. I actually have a little story about the engine, which we'll get into a little bit later. And I lose track of the car. I assume it is where I had left it with the person that I left it with. And then 20 years later, the phone rings. You want to come get that Ramrod? So I get in my trailer and my truck and I drive and I go, and after having not seen this car for 20 years, I bring it back. So yes, on the property is a 68 Ramrod 350 Cutlass S Coupe, a 69 F85 W-31, obviously a post, and Mr. Jones, the 69 Cutlass S Coupe W-31. Now let's get into maybe some pictures of, when I had it and what took place with that engine story. So let's get in here one more time. This is a photograph of the car when I saw it before I never even knew this car existed. Then, by happenstance, the car comes my way. This is our first house. My wife and I are our first house. Obviously, you see my gold car there, and you see the Ramrod. Okay, and it's sat in the garage at our first house, right next to my W-31 for several years, many years. Somewhere around 2003. And it's just one of those cars where I never spent a lot of time, driving it. I never spent a lot of time, certainly never showed it. It's just one of those things that came my way, and it's just kind of how it was supposed to be. Now, in 2005, I have a little problem. Joe's going to put some more B-roll in here of pictures of this in color in my shop, the first auto refinery shop. And I was test driving this car up and down the road, and I squeezed it pretty good. And it was running great until it wasn't. And what happened was a valve stem was corroded. Can you see that? And the valve head broke off, and it made parts exit the engine. So I can definitely tell you that this engine's been rebuilt at least once. I'm sure it was rebuilt before. You know why? Because I blew it up. I blew it up, but the machine shop was able to save it, sleeve the cylinder. The VIN is on the block. Kind of heartbreaking. Very, very heartbreaking. And because the auto refinery was a legitimate repair shop at the time, I was able to, have it covered through the business. And we had this engine completely rebuilt 20 years ago. Probably has like no miles on it since then. Because basically it has just sat. I know some of you are probably still saying, wait a minute, what the heck is going on? How did we not know about this Ramrod? There it is. I first met this car. Literally, Dad and I went to a car show, and this car was there. It's nowhere near as nice as I remember. I know it's been repainted. We already have some blisters on the friggin' hood. It's not been wet sanded or buffed really well. It's already starting to lift in places. It's not great. Yeah. Not great, guys, but it's all here. So I'm gonna get it out of the trailer so we can take a better look at it. But again, this is just really for us to take a look at.